Ugh. I'm checking. Because Wham, everything she wants. But it's everything I want. It's a truck. For fuck's sake. I can't keep doing it. I'm dead. Anyway. This track is very interesting. It's got interesting use of synths, but also effects, and the composition as well is pretty unique. Because it's not like a sustained sort of track. The only sustain you get is in the chorus. Everything else is kind of like pretty chill. And you know, it creates a song by just using different melodies, and it's really interesting. You know, as usual for George Michael, and look at the band again to see who the other half was, Andrew Ridgely. Yeah, also it's fascinating. I think this is a really quite a unique song, and obviously you've probably heard this from GTA 5. That's why I kind of first heard this, but I feel like it's been on the radio somehow, like a lot of Wham tracks have. Yeah, it's such a good track. I do have an appreciation for this type of music, and obviously where it's obviously inspired others. Certainly, um, it's just so different, and that's what I like about it. There isn't really a track like this out there, I don't think, because it kind of borders between like pop and rhythm and blues, I guess. I guess also like electronic as well. And it's got different elements to it. You can sort of hear, and also call and response as well. I forgot to mention that with the vocals. There's a lot of call and response in this track, which I also find pretty different for a track like this. And also, there's like isn't there a chromatic chord, or no, not chromatic? Maybe it's just what do you call it? Well, that's one of those chords where it just does like a slight different note, and it's not part of the key. It's an off-key note, maybe off-key chord. I don't know, but it's like where the root note's different. I heard that in this chorus, and it's just it's just testament to how good the composition is. Yeah, I feel like highlighting these tracks because again, they have so many great traits to them. I just enjoy. But as I'm running down the list, I haven't really got many songs left to highlight, sadly. But I think it's gonna have to be that way because it's just like one of those things. I can't always have a track ready, and unless I hear something really like mind blowing, I will go through actually one of the recent ones and talk about them maybe. Um, yeah, it's just a thing really. I don't really have anything else to add. So yeah, let's move on. For anyone saying it's just summer, go watch the floods in China. Because this should open your fucking mind at this point. Climate change is 100% real. This is ridiculous. And it's linked to terribly built dams, sure, but climate change was the way that this happened. According to people who are in the know of what's happening in China at the moment. But it's so fucking bad now. I've never seen floods like this in my lifetime. It's not just sweeping up places, it's sweeping up cars, it's sweeping up buildings, it's sweeping up land. And it's even allowing, for some reason, snakes out. Like it destroyed a snake farm and it allowed a bunch of snakes to escape. And like I said this before, why the fuck are you even farming snakes? Why are you even farming animals to begin with? This is the problem when you don't do anything about this. If you're farming animals like this, including dog farms, because believe it or not, dog farms might be dangerous to have in a situation like this, not just because the dogs will die, but because they'll go and hunt people. But you don't do this shit, and this is why you just don't fucking do it. It's such a big risk to life, and nobody really acknowledges that. And yeah, you couldn't have seen a flood coming necessarily, but you should have. You should have at least considered that these things are deadly and dangerous. They shouldn't have been a thing. This is why it's so bad. Yeah, climate change is 100% real. And I said I was taking a break from social media, but I ain't really got much choice, really. Because a lot of this shit is just... it's out there. It's shared, it's known. And it seems to be getting worse. What the fuck? And then this probably won't be the only place to have it. They've been hit by typhoons as well. And is there anything else? I'm just like browsing the feed. I don't really see much else, but it's kind of the problem with all these issues. Apparently Xi Jinping is nowhere to be seen. I don't know if that's for the better or not, because it's hard to say. Because China just seems to be like a 50-50 nation, it seems. They have some, like, they have like half good decisions here and there, and then they have half bad decisions, and obviously this ties into the bad one because fucking, what was it, AI slop, fuck off, post, but yeah, like the bad decisions result in this crap. It gets dangerous as fuck. And this is really why it's so deadly. And this shit just gets out of hand. But the fact nobody's doing anything is just absolutely absurd. Nothing is done about it, and the thing is, you can't even do anything as another country. You can't do anything to help them, save them. The UK definitely can't, and the US definitely won't. So there's no chance of like rebuilding, there's no chance of bringing over resources, because this shit has already gotten out of hand and we have no money. Taxpayers won't want to send their money here because they hate China. I don't blame them in a way. This is the fucking absurdity of it all. You can't just send money here expecting things to get better. There has to be like social change. And that's what it has to be. And you know, like here, like a fucking news article, a woman risking her life to grab a dog apparently, although with AI I'm not 100% sure these days. But, you know, I guarantee you, a bunch of people in China are just going to be laughing at that laugh emoji. Food. Why are you saving food? Again, it's the absurdity, it's again the problem with societies here. And, you know, the CCP has done nothing to change that. Nothing to make it what communism should be. Because obviously it's been hijacked to do terrible things, but it should have been a community effort rather than what it is, which is capitalism. You know, it's all been hijacked by capitalism. That's the issue there. There's so much fucking danger. Another AI slop block. They shouldn't be posting AI slop during this shit. It's really fucking bad for victims and even just the truth of like you know, journalism. Yeah, but all of this is obviously terrible, and you know, frankly, the way things are, if you know the world keeps heating up, we'll probably start to see something like this happening more in the UK. We've already got wildfires, and so imagine what else will fucking happen. You know, first it'll be wildfires, then it'll be flooding, which we'll see no doubt come autumn and winter, and then we'll start to see bigger issues like hurricanes, maybe even tornadoes, because we don't usually have them. See completely like thunderstorms which break every fucking thing. There's just so much absurdity, and nobody's safe from climate change. That's the thing that has to be mentioned here. Everyone denying it, they have to understand that nobody is safe from it. Whether you like it or not, it's here. And that's going to change the course of action for everyone. It's going to change your life as well, for better and worse, sadly. For some people, get solar energy. They'll probably get better technology as well. Like electric vehicles and smart technology, probably a bit better. I could be wrong. But for other people, it's not going to be that lucky. It's going to be worse. It's going to be constant destruction, constant moving around. There's nothing. There's no home for you. You won't have a home. You'll likely be dead as well, because they won't even try to save you. You're better off dead to people because you chose a situation where you could die. That's how it works these days, and that should scare people enough who deny climate change into thinking better choices. That's the reality. And yeah, you cannot avoid that. So anyway, I shall move on. I suppose nobody's mentioned this. Well, this has just been rarely mentioned, but for some stupid reason, people are not taken to the streets about the bullshit around the climate emergency we're in now. I think this is telling of how much people actually care about it, and it's your own problem if you've chosen not to fight against this. The fact there's no protest about this is incredibly dumb. The fact there's not enough disruption about this or direct action, again, is not enough. And instead of fighting against exactly the problem, even though it's important, they are correlated to it, we do need to fight against this shit. It's absolutely absurd that this will essentially kill us eventually. As I've mentioned before, people who deny the climate being a thing, climate change being real, they're going to be the first victims of it, because that's what happens. You chose not to acknowledge it, and even I'm taking cautionary steps moving into the future that I don't really value in my life. I think I at least want to give someone else a chance, so if there's ever that situation, at least I'm falling out for someone who at least deserves to live more than myself. So that's always important to acknowledge. Again, I've done everything I can with this. I've protested since 2020 about this. I've done it online, obviously, and that's it's a way to do it. But it's whether people will engage with it or not. But it seems like not many people do. And so we'll just get fucked, I suppose. So yeah, absolutely absurd. What's this? Hang on, this is something really controversial. Oops, just Control Q, that didn't actually do anything. What's this? Those vegan guys post. I really don't really like that. Paul actually, I think, is using like AI stuff, which is a bit shit. I noticed an AI shirt, it's just kind of meh. But yeah, I think people do need to stop using AI as much as possible, stop supporting it as well. But what's this? A comment as it's a death threat. Neil Harvey is from Victoria, New Zealand, and he wrote Real on Mars. I wish it was legal to kill vegans and trans people. Or what are they one and the same? What? Nice. Oh. Not really. Yeah, what the fuck? But it's just so dumb. Like, what the fuck are you even saying? Absolute dumbass. Why do you wish it was legal to kill vegans and trans people? What have they ever fucking done to you? Like, because have they even killed any of your family? That's what I'd be asking, like family and friends. Because it sounds like some sort of fucking revenge plot. It's so dystopian. There's so much bullshit around, and this is the thing that sort of contributes, and this is the thing that people are part of. They're part of these death threats, the people who are anti-vegan, who constantly block it out, pretend like it's not something they have to worry about. You're on board with this shit. You're the ones giving the death threats. So by natural, I don't know what you call it, process of elimination. It literally does pay you with that. So of course there's big issues there. And that's why it's unavoidable. So yeah, I mean, if you don't want to be part of the corruption, then don't be part of it. It's simple. Anyway, I haven't got anything else to add, so let's move on. Well, I'm now about 7 months into an issue that started really earlier this year. It feels like it's actually been like a short amount of time. I don't know. Yeah, time does fly by, but you know, I can only remember just walking outside and taking walks. It feels like it's been years since I did that, but I actually haven't. But I just started to develop really weird issues, and by far one of the worst issues I've developed, other than sleep problems, is just the inflammation I was getting with my ulcerative colitis. Although to be fair, I'm not sure if it's just ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. It's hard to fucking pinpoint because they didn't give me a clear answer, even in the letter confirming the diagnosis, which is a bit risky really. Because for all I know, I've got the wrong treatment, and it's been killing me all this time. But that really pushes the point home, I think. And I've had these issues for way too long now. Constant bathroom visits when I don't really need to, feeling like I need to go to the bathroom and stuff. So much absurdity with what this is doing to me. And it's been over 7 months now and still no sign of it clearing up. Which is quite worrisome, because it should be. And I've had like 2, I think, blood tests in that time and 2 stool tests. And it's just the same thing every time. Like, no information, no problems in the blood test, nothing. So I don't know what's going on. And to be honest, it's almost like I have like a defect or something where I'm just permanently and perpetually just shitting my guts out. And it's not even just a case of it being just this IBD, as is the umbrella term. It's probably something else. And the scarier thing is, earlier in the year I did have a appendix bursting scare, because I wasn't sure what it was. I was just laying down and had terrible pain in the bottom right, and I was double checking it. And I decided to get a GP appointment instead because it didn't feel like an appendix thing, but I was fucking shit scared because of the shit. Because I just don't know if it's an inflammation issue or that. And apparently it's very common for appendixes to burst. Or appendixi. It's a plural for it. But anyway, that sent me on a bloody, like, I don't know, like stress streak, I guess. Because even with the doctor's diagnosis basically saying, no, it's not the appendix. I'm not 100% sure it was, to be honest. I think it was something else. But I think it sort of worsened the issues I had before, because before it was like, okay, I'm going about on 1 time extra. But then I'm going like more. And, you know, even just like a few hours ago, I was literally on the toilet trying to get out what I thought was shit. And it turns out it was just like a tiny little fucking pebble of a shit. And mucus. Like, what the hell is going on? And it's even weirder because I was dripping with stuff last night as well. I don't know what the hell was going on. You know, I just like leaned over the toilet a bit to reach my arse because an idiot can't even design a fucking toilet room for some reason. I hate to say it, but the toilet room is absolutely stupid. I've basically got no space, so you can imagine where I have to move to fucking get there, to reach into it. It's not even a tiny place, it's like just poorly designed, not well thought out. But that caused many issues for me, and over the years, yeah. And yeah, again, I'm like just found myself like dripping stuff. I don't know what it was. If it was mucus or sweat or whatever, it shouldn't be sweat, because if it was, it would have been coming from another place, not my ass. Because I don't think you sweat in your ass. That's what hair is there for. But yeah, again, very bizarre. I'm not really sure what to do about that. This issue has been real bad for me, and honestly, I can't wait to see if there's potentially a diagnosis waiting for me, although it's probably a bad diagnosis, when I get this colonoscopy done. And then I can hopefully get a treatment that will return me back to normal. Return me back to when I used to have, 3 times in the morning and that was it. Done and dusted. But now it's like I'm wasting so much time on the toilet. I spend like 10 minutes and I've got to like now. Okay, thankfully that was a fart. Like the gas thing as well, that's the thing, it conflates it with gas too, and that becomes an issue. And it goes like, I'd say 60% of the time is gas. But that 40% is unfortunate. God, that stinks. I haven't actually had a smelly fart in a while, that's interesting. This is outside. Noticed a fair fart. Because that's weird, because my gas doesn't smell. So that's new. It used to smell. It's had moments where it smelled, but other times it doesn't. So it's very weird. It's also possibly just... Wait a minute. Is it possible to just get trapped air? Like, there's no trigger effect, it's just like air that gets stuck in there. I never really considered that. What if that is the fucking reason? Jesus Christ. I need to research that. Because that could be signposting me towards something else. Like, can you get trapped air but not gas in valves? I guess that's what I need to ask. Gas and gas pain, no. Gas and digestive tract, no. Trapped wind, gas and bloating. Don't think that's it. I think it might be wind though. I don't know. Yeah, like it could very well be wind. This Royal Australian thing. Sure what this is. Swallowed air, 3 litres. Nitrogen 1, carbon dioxide 3, oxygen, carbon dioxide, methane hydrogen sulfide 18, not sure what that is. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, it's quite bad really. I really don't know what's causing this shite. But this is obviously a big issue for me. Because even then it can happen when I go out. And it's not common, but it can happen. So, okay, what's this normal gas pattern? Maybe I need to look at abnormal. That's probably why I have a abnormal gas pattern. Perhaps that might be what it is. Normal gas pattern, diaphragm, free gas, bowel, above the liver and bowel. What's this oxygen tubing? I don't know what this is. Again, I'm not knowledgeable on this. Almost always there in the stomach. Usually small amount of air in 2-3 loops and small bowel. Almost always there in rectum and sigmoid. Varying amounts of gas, the rest of the large bowel. Okay. Not sure about that. You know, that actually explains something. That the diaphragm. Like, what are the diaphragms then? Where are they? So I think I figured something out. If that's even a thing though, that's a problem. The diaphragms in the body? Unless this is an adult, I just don't know. The 4 diaphragms cranial cavity, throat cavity, diaphragm, whatever that is. So that's not helpful. Because I was thinking, when I have these weird gas issues, there's sometimes a thing that happens in my body where it just feels like something is inflating and then deflating. I hear it inside my own body. And that might be what the issue is. Could be wrong, but that might be kind of what that is. Because I just hear it and I feel it as well. It's the thing, it's physical. So I don't know what this means exactly, like if that's maybe a thing. Diaphragm muscle. That's the other thing, when I lean over and stuff, I feel something move, like a muscle is being changed and shit. So it's a diaphragm clinic. It's just no images, great. So I can't even locate it. Thoracic diaphragm. Don't know. It's very weird. There's like a gram of it, a sternum. No, that one, I think. That's all I passed it through. Interesting. I wonder if there's any sort of like issues there. If either a phrenic nerve, cervical nerve, or brainstem is damaged, this will sever the nervous supply to the diaphragm. The most common damage to the phrenic nerve is bronchial cancer, which usually only affects one side of the diaphragm. Other causes include Guillain-Barré syndrome, systematic lung insufficiency. What? Okay. This might be worth looking into. Hernia. Don't think I have that because I think that's physical, if I'm not mistaken. And not really anything else. Yeah, I think something looking into. So I could be just mistaking this for just weirdness of that. But you know, I've pointed this out before, I'm pretty sure, with like the right people. I've pointed out the hospital and stuff. And it doesn't really seem to matter. Is a COVID-19 infection or vaccine related? For the GBS. That's worrying because I have had COVID recently. Lung cancer is a tumour. I'm gonna do cigarette smoking, no inhaling dangerous chemicals, not sure, damage the airway, cells gain the ability to multiply. Tumours can spread throughout the lung, damaging lung function, eventually lung tumours. What does it do though? Any sort of symptoms, signs and symptoms to arise: coughing, shortness of breath, chest pain. Probably I only have two of them. I get coughing every now and then, I get shortness of breath, but no chest pain. They can differ from person to person though. That's either a new cough or an increase in frequency, pre-existing cough, running for coughing up blood. Shortness of breath, yeah. Not sure about chest pains again, I don't feel that. Some experience, loss of appetite, weight loss, general weakness, fever, and night sweats. No, so that's quite unlikely then. But 1 in 3 people don't know as well as insights disease. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's like very strange. I don't really know what this could be, if anything. Potential to point it out, but I don't know. Smoking. Actually, that's kind of the problem because these idiots next door who keep burning stuff, I'm probably inhaling their chemicals and that's causing me issues. And who knows, it's probably also doing something to my diaphragm, which is not surprising because that explains why I didn't have it in my last house. At least the bowel stuff, although the breathing issues I still had. But obviously now I'm here in a polluted area, I'm getting that as well. So it's fucking ridiculous. I also feel sorry for the kids who live here because there's kids there and they're breathing in this shit as well. So I'm starting to think I might need to contact the council. Good luck with that because you know, it's run by a grifter. So I don't know. Potentially could report it to the landlord, but I don't even know. Because yeah, that might be an explanation for some of this shit. Because it is like a type of smoking, and I am quite sensitive to this shit as well. I'm not sure it'd be lung cancer necessarily, but it definitely can impact things. Definitely causing cell death, I can tell you that. Among other smells that seem to occur here. It's also just a fucking miracle that people just don't drop dead from smoking. It's weird. I don't fucking understand it. Even smoking, you're just putting things on fire to begin with. Inhaling that shit. Yeah, I genuinely don't understand it. Yeah, I feel getting quite ill, and that's a problem. It's also a big reason why I can't get things done properly today. I was lucky to avoid most things, but I still am falling behind even now. I'm almost finished with my tasks, and you know, I ain't got much time for myself. And that's like the big problem with this. Is why I don't like how my bowels obviously reacting and stuff. It's impossible to locate a fucking flare-up. I've read through this fucking guide like several times. I got my education. I somehow still have it. I'm surprised I didn't chuck it away really. It's got information on it and stuff on the diary as well. I think it's this anyway. I think it's actually about the medication. So what's this? So what's that smell? Not sure what that is. A bunch of random stuff. Broken side effects. Oh, okay, I didn't know this actually. Headaches, injection site reactions, abdominal pain, musculoskeletal pain, nausea and vomiting, rash, respiratory tract. What the fuck? What if it's solving one problem? Why is it giving all these? It kind of doesn't make sense because I still get rashes. And I do get respiratory tract infections. And then the idiots at the fucking GP don't even reference this. Tell your doctor immediately if you notice any of the following: severe rash, hives, or other signs of allergic reaction, swollen face, hands or feet, trouble breathing, swallowing. Yes, I've already reported that. Shortness of breath, or physical activity upon lying down, or swelling to the feet. Again, I've done that, and they're not doing anything. It's a bit stupid. It's so weird. There's information on how to store the medication. Yeah, probably put the leaflet somewhere else actually, this isn't the one. Because there's like a general thing about Crohn's disease and it had some things there, not everything, but it told you stuff, and that's that. I could do potentially moving this back, so I've said that. And there, paperwork. Get it there, there we go. Yeah, I don't know, so let's move on. God, some funny news, and I don't report on this before because it's all over the place. I might as well talk about it. The Tate brothers being arrested. About fucking time. They were already charged with something and for some reason didn't go to prison for it. For whatever reason. So they're still a danger to humanity and the women. And now they've finally been arrested, which is good. But whether they'll be charged or not, that's another question. Yeah, as people pointing out, the fucking outfit that Andrew is wearing is fucking hilarious. Oh my god, like what fucking... what an idiot. He claims to be this alpha male type, but he's dressing in like feminine clothes. It's like, oh my fucking god. It's ridiculous. This is so stupid. I don't even dress like that. I'm non-binary. It's just extremely fucking stupid. It's funny. And it's such a hypocrisy too. But yeah, based on what the charges were initially, like initial charges that they're investigating, it's quite bad really. It's actually some of the worst I've seen from an influencer, I think. 7 counts of rape, 3 counts of arranging or facilitating trafficking for sexual exploitation, 3 counts of actual bodily harm, and 90 counts of child pornography and extreme pornography. Yeah, that's for Andrew alone. And what the fuck? The guy who claims to be protecting women and probably trying to inspire children is also hurting them? Oh, shocker. Who would have thought that coming? It's so ridiculous. This is why people like this should be just immediately investigated once they get to the influencer sphere, because if what they're doing is actually harmful to people and humanity, countries have an obligation to investigate the influencers, because that is extremely dumb. It's the same way I'd treat someone who does like a TikTok challenge, who maybe like tries drinking bleach or something stupid like that, and end up ruining kids' lives and kills them. You know, they should be held to the same degree. And yes, I've also you'll say bad parenting killed the child. That isn't all it is. It's other factors, and people seem to forget there is a second or even like third parent here. It depends on your situation, obviously, and maybe even fifth, because obviously we have half parents or step parents while we're not half parents. God, imagine having a half parent. That'd be fucking weird. Yeah, but literally, the internet can sort of act like that for people, as it sort of did me when I was growing up. It's what it did for gaming. And this shit is what harms people, it's what harms children and harms adults in the future. So it needs to be kept under control, obviously. But these counts of crimes is just absolutely ridiculous. It really shows. Fuck, a bit of tongue, what the hell? That's weird. Wasn't too hard though, luckily. It shows the issues here. Someone pretending to be strong, trying to get people to invest in some sort of fucking scheme where you gather some money and women, apparently. I think that's someone who's very suspicious, and they should be investigated for that. This crap like that is why there's so much harm. The amount of people I've seen, and sadly even as women too, who's like cuddle up to this fucking guy somehow. Someone I used to know, like a year back, was not even a year back, it's like a few years back, who I happened to know online, who was like kind of talking about random things, like we sort of were from the same sort of mental health group thing, whatever that was. I can't remember what it was actually. It's like a place to get some sort of a community and therapy, and I ended up going. It's too much for me. But anyway, I talked to stuff and it sort of got it off well, but eventually she started showing her true colours, and some of the things she was saying was absolutely stupid, like arguing against veganism, despite having depression, which is very bizarre. It's a strange combination to be depressed and against changing the world for the better. Okay, sure, but it gets even weirder because there's also arguments against trans people, which I obviously took issue with because there's very much an issue there where you're judging people for trying to live their best life, essentially. Admittedly, the thing was quite trivial, like talking about giving trans women tampons, but who are we to fucking judge? Like, who even cares what they do with that? It's nobody's business. And, you know, I'm pretty sure most women wouldn't even want tap porn, so again, it's not your business to fucking dictate what you do there, or what you think they should do, let alone who they decide to identify as. It's ridiculous. But then, there was an even weirder post, and that wasn't the thing that broke it. I think it was the trans topic that actually broke me on that. Just Insta friend, because obviously she was an idiot. But this other one was actually showing an Andrew Tate clip. Yeah, fucking weird. It is seriously weird. Like, what are you doing with your life if you're a woman and you're following these dickheads, the Tate brothers? What the fuck are you doing? It's the most blatant shoot yourself in the foot strategy that there ever has been. That's what I just find it so absurd. And always known about Tate brothers and just how bad their advice is. Like, preach being like an alpha male. And yeah, it got to some people actually, even when they were arguing against it. Actually, M, as I've brought up in a while, I think was one of those people. He wasn't trying to be an alpha, but the problem is, sort of, for some reason, I think it was just fake though anyway, but he pretended like alpha males were scum of the earth and tried to treat others like they were trying to be alpha males, which is probably where he thought I was trying to be or something, which I'm not. I don't have that ability. I don't have the ability to be apathetic or callous, so it doesn't apply to me. But yeah, again, it's like so weird that he just clung onto those sort of clips and those words, and I'm pretty sure he was a follower of Tate, but just to hate watch, and then just started following his advice, just picking and choosing exactly what he had. Like, I can only assume here because I don't know exactly what he meant. Was it even into the alpha male sphere? I knew about, like, I think like blue pill, red pill. Yeah, I think it's like blue pill, red pill, and that was from sadly a darker time in my vegan days of vegan games when I used to watch his live streams and he reacted to that. But yeah, I sort of knew about that sort of content, and that's sort of where I think the Tate brothers actually got their start, in a sense. Again, these two are just fucking awful for women, and rightfully so. The police officer in this video by the Channel 4 News actually called us out. It's just so disgusting what men can do to women. It's hard to believe sometimes. It really doesn't need to be like this, really. And I think the best way to describe like men, because this is the thing with like alpha males, they believe in a connection towards nature, which ironically is like the carnivore diet shit, which obviously, as we know, is not healthy and it's not safe. But so-called alpha males want to be the top of the pack, and that's what the Tate brothers were supposed to be. Although there's two, so it kind of made me question: are they gay? Maybe. But that's the thing. They want to be at the top, and that's the point. And then people gave it to them, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You won't become an alpha male by giving money to these fucking idiots. It's not how it works. And people gave money, and then what? They're just going to pay their way out of any sort of like bail or bond if they get that. Assuming it was the US, but I think the UK is trying to press for more charges or something. I can't really understand it that well. Because they're pushing all this shit, and everyone below them is basically scum, including someone like myself who can't even get to that point to begin with. Okay, like, I guess you just have to be born lucky then, and they'll probably say something like, no, you just have to be strong. Forgetting the fact that you can't be born with certain traits. Like, what a fucking joke. These people have no concept of reality, let alone nature. And how much is obvious. I'm pretty sure they've been like homophobic and transphobic and shit. Which is, yeah, not surprising. I haven't gone into the other Tate brother, but it's just 1 count of sexual assault, 2 counts of rape, and 3 counts of arranging trafficking or sexual exploitation. 4 for sexual exploitation. Don't know what's happened with my voice today. Again, more scum of the earth. It's people like this who just absolutely fuck everything. It'd be good to see them behind bars at least for life, hopefully. If that sort of is warranted with this sort of shit. These people are dangerous, and obviously the influence they've had on the world has been absolutely devastating, and that's why you have these dickheads posing with like politicians and stuff. I'm pretty sure the Tates have met Trump, and I'm pretty sure they've also met like Nigel Farage and shit. Pretty sure I saw an image of that somewhere. But it's like so fucking disgusting, and it shows the complicity and all the issues we have now. And then I have to say that to really debunk the alpha male thing, you don't need to be successful to be happy, to even get women or get a partner. There's no such thing as like success being the way to skyrocket yourself to any sort of or any form of happiness. You have to find happiness yourself through trials and tribulations. That's how it's always worked. I myself have had to do that for my entire life because I didn't know what to do, and then can't work obviously, and so I'm stuck at home and have to figure out what to do. And then I figured out what to do, and it turns out it's actually kind of my best life as it is at the moment. Maybe things could be a lot better, but I'm working towards that, and that's the point. I think happiness definitely comes from what you find brings you happiness. It's not something you think that would be solved through something like, again, a relationship with women or whatever. It's something else entirely. It's like the little pleasures you get in life, whether it's gaming, whether it's maybe finding a hobby, finding an interest. That's what brings you happiness in life. A relationship can bring happiness, but it's not going to be the solution. I can tell you that much. I've been in multiple relationships, and admittedly, whilst I'm still a virgin, I've at least had relationships, which is hard to imagine for someone like me, especially with learning difficulties and just being very inexperienced as well. But again, it turns out it's not the be all and end all, and it turns out you could just be happier with, instead of trying to facilitate sex, you just go with a fucking sex toy. Yeah, that even applies to younger males out there or younger people. It depends on who's really listening to that. But lie about your age obviously and shit, but if you know what it is, you know what it is. If you don't, then stay innocent. That's the advice I can give. And also, I think one of the best ways to... What was that? I'll tell if I was like a false call. The best way to sort of... what was I thinking now? That car really distracted me. No, I can't think now for some reason. Oh yeah, that's it. Because the thing is, when it comes to attracting people, there's no such thing as being a successful person to attract people. In fact, it's all to do with first impressions, and sadly that is the case. Because it even results in not much happening. As a quiet person, first impressions are not good with myself. Because people think it's like a sign of rudeness or a sign of selfishness, or even just being creepy. So I can't attest to those, but that's what people get the impression of when they encounter me. And I don't know what to even say or do in that perspective. But that's what influences people, and to make a good first impression, I think you just need to be a decent person. Instead of being this like ass-grabbing cunt going to a bar, you instead engage in a conversation. You just try to treat her friendly. Try to treat someone nicely. Like, obviously, buy drinks. Weirdly enough, that's a trick from ages ago. Like speaking like 70s, probably even 60s. Obviously 80s, that's where it was more prevalent. But you know, that's how you do it. That's how you start things. That's how you start friendships, and even then, you just find like-mindedness for relationships, and that works. That will often work because you meet people you wouldn't expect, and sometimes you do get a heartbreaking moment there. Someone's already in a relationship, but at least you try, and that's far better than anything else. And even then, it's worth opening your mind if you ever had sort of by curiosity, like why not? You know, you could also encourage someone else. You never know, it could happen. But, you know, exploring those aspects and having like completely consensual stuff, and consent is really important. I also have to mention that for people who are specifically trying to be stronger, to be like masculine, it doesn't come with brute strength or, you know, being successful. It comes with just being a nice person, trying to be like truthful about things and being honest. I think that's true masculinity. That is a sign of strength, ironically, and not the physical kind, obviously, but the mental kind, the one where you can actually think about it, realise something about someone. Especially if you do like charity work or something, that's gonna pay off massively. And that'll no doubt get people interested in getting to know you and stuff. But yeah, either way, let's remove this fucking picture of Tristan Tate. But yeah, don't listen to these idiots though. I can only give advice based on my experiences and also what others have shared with me. But shit like this is why there's so many problems. Oh, for fuck's sake, why did these cunts even get the popularity that they got? It genuinely makes no sense. I still can't understand it years later, after the fact. And the amount of damage they've caused too, no doubt. You know, given this recent charge as well with the paedophilia that Andrew Tate is seemingly complicit in, again, it's extremely concerning. It really does show the weakness in his stance and how much he lied about things. Because his constant narrative, from what I remember, is just being about like the best sort of looking male that you can. Like being successful again is one of the things. But I'd also add that it's also about just exploiting women. Like that's one of the things he was trying to do. And that was pretty much all it was, I think. Other than success, being a billionaire or something. But yeah, it's like so stupid. Can't believe that they got the popularity they did. And the world would be better off without them, to be honest. I think that's probably the kindest thing I could say. Yeah, it would be a blessing. But it's only because they are literally a threat. We have evidence for that. I guarantee you there's probably a study out there that's gone into it already about the influence that people like them have caused towards domestic abuse and increasing that and even abusive behaviours. And no doubt a lot of it is probably meant to be applied to children as well, which is extremely fucking concerning. So yeah, anyway, let's move on. YouTube recommendations. For some reason I've got the anti-woke shit again. I don't know why it keeps coming up. I think it's something to do with like crime and stuff, where people for some reason, this is a common thing on the far right, I think, they watch it to figure out a way to get away from police. Which you can't, because they only show the dumber criminals. It's like really stupid. It's different to like vigilantism where idiots surprisingly put their working out there and, you know, tell people exactly how they do it so that they can fucking, you know, let people get away with that shit. And it makes no sense. It's just such bullshit because it harms people. And obviously with stuff like this, the recommendations I get, they constantly point out, again, woke people as like an issue. Like I saw one from like New York Post, I think it was, which I swear used to be like good, I don't know. But it's like, trans woman gets, was it trans person? I can't remember now actually, but they were complaining about misgendering and got arrested for it. Which is an absurd idea. I didn't watch it obviously, but why is this even a thing? Whether this is a trans woman or not, nobody should be misgendering anyone. And, you know, unless there's like an actual thing that can actually relate being transgender to the crime, supposedly, there isn't any reason to point it out. It's just a mute fucking point. Same way you can't link a person's skin colour towards a crime, because you have to take into account that it doesn't have anything to do with the crime. It never does. Believe it or not, the way people look has nothing to do with a crime. Unless it's obviously like drugs or like violence or something. But everything else is just kind of mute and nothing. And null and void. That's why I find all this shit sort of tiring. It makes me wish there was an easier way to like adjust the algorithm on like YouTube and stuff, so I can avoid more of this crap. It's just fucking awful. What do I even add? It's just insanity. So I don't really know, but again, at this point, to make an effective argument, you need to have a way to like link it to the crime. Again, if somehow being trans is related to a crime, you link it to them being trans, but you have to link it, because there isn't a link when it's just trans person rape, let's say as an example, and there isn't any correlation. Like these examples that people make up, they think the bathroom is the issue. You almost never find that in those cases. And even in those cases, you can't link it to someone being transgender. So again, there is nothing here. It's a moot point. There's no fucking evidence to link it. Nothing. The same with skin colour, the same with ethnicity. And it's just absurd. And like, the only thing I can think with ethnicity, and this is only because of the things in the UK, is when a country is so troubled by their own culture or politics that they do not apply it to British culture or politics. Like, they don't respect it. Because I think there's a line to draw with like where you respect things when it comes to the differences in, like, say, relationships or how you accept people or something. Those are non-negotiable. Accept it as British people do. Except, obviously now, unfortunately, Reform and Restore are literally doing the same thing they are. These supposed migrant criminals who are invading us, as they say. But, you know, Reform and Restore are the same thing, literally, and they don't realise it. They're so fucking dumb. But again, you have to somehow link this, but they need to respect these cultures, and I agree on that. It doesn't require any sort of fucking deportation, which is going to be costly and deadly, probably. It's going to put us in the worst cost of living crisis as well, a worse one. Because people are not focusing on it enough, it seems. For some reason, they've just hijacked this stupid bullshit about the migrant grooming gangs and shit. It's just getting ridiculous. There's so many fucking problems with this. But again, it's the same thing with these news articles and even these posts like body cam footage and shit. It's always like targeted, and this is when it becomes a problem. Targeting is one of the probably biggest epidemics we've actually seen in recent years, and I don't know why it's not labelled as such, because it is. It is an epidemic. We're seeing news articles like wrongfully label people with tags like black, autistic, disabled, trans, gay, like anything really, anything they can get their hands on, and use it as a fucking point against them, and even mention it in an article, which is even still bad. And yet it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Because it's mute until you can actually prove it's linked. It's the same way that, weirdly enough, in a stranger sense, like people correlate diet to sort of injuries and death. And there isn't one. There is no correlation, because the reality is, it's nothing to do with it. It's to do with how you feed yourself, like the nutrients and stuff that you get. But also, when it comes to certain topics, like for example climbing Mount Everest, you find out very quickly that it's because Mount Everest is fucking deadly. Not to do with diet. If it's a lung issue they died from, they'll die from it. Like, I think I saw like a statistic, like 33% of the time. Like, that's not to do with diet at all. Again, until it can be proven. But it's not. None of them have ever brought it up. The articles are just absolutely shit. They're talking about these things. In the same way, I can also provide a steel man here for people on the opposite side, because you might be saying, what are you talking about? You always put something like far right and far left in the title of these things. Whatever it is, like far right mostly. But my response to that is, because we can actually prove it. Can prove you're actually on that side. But the only steel man I could say is that when it's not linked, it's not linked. I think, for example, just being racist is that you're just being racist, and you can't link that to being far right, annoyingly. But you can link it when there are other factors in between, so they're believing something like, oh, let's arrest these people, let's execute them. Or they're saying something like, let's not give any rights to woke people or disabled people, and that is literally far right politics. You may not realise it, but you are part of it. And from an unbiased perspective, I myself am apparently part of a centre-left ideology. Apparently same as Gandhi, when I took a political test anyway. But this is exactly what I mean. This is the kind of shit that happens. It causes problems, and we can't be just doing this mislabelling and shit. It doesn't serve any benefit, and it takes away from the truth. In fact, I could even go as far as to say the news sources and even certain government sources are going as far as to be on the same spectrum as psychopaths, paedophiles and rapists, because that's what they are doing. That's what they're doing with these targeted attacks. They're scapegoating, protecting someone based on a conflict of interest, and causing immeasurable harm to the global population. So that's why a lot of this shit is just unnecessary. So again, fix your titles, fix your descriptions, and don't use labels until you can prove it. Let's move on. Finally, get some time alone to speak with you? Question mark? No, that's because I'm confused, apparently. So, this is a stupid thing that I keep seeing on social media, and it's an accusation, which obviously is a confession, as you might expect. This tends to happen with low IQ individuals and pretty much people who don't use evidence. But yeah, there seems to be people on like the far right who are accusing people on the left who stand for morality and ethics of being, literal, like what do you fucking call them? Accusing us of being literal literally confused, which is such a fucking straw man. Like, what the fuck are you even thinking? It's really bad, and the accusation is often associated with an image of some sort, and the image is basically of us flying different flags together, like the pride flag alongside Palestine. And they're saying this is the most confused generation, or the most confused voters, or the most confused left-leaning politics there is. And it's really a dumb response to try and basically refute something, which it's not possible, because the reality is it's not confused at all. If you put any single bit of thought into it, you would see that is not the case. The confusion is simply on, ironically, the side saying we're confused. Because yeah, I get it. Like, people might think, oh well, you're advocating for Palestine, which is anti-LGBTQ+. And yeah, you are correct in that, even if a bit false. But the problem is, we're not confused in our goals, and the goal is that Israel is committing a genocide against people who have nothing to do with the things we're even standing for. Literally, they're genociding children who have nothing to do with Hamas. And as well in the Western society, as we should be seeing, we should not be treating victims like they're criminals. And children are victims of this shit. And that's the problem. So to say we're confused is simply to straw man or treat it as a red herring is frankly absurd. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're even thinking at that point, because that just makes genuinely no sense. If it is confusion, prove it. Because if you have a debate with someone about this, well, you'll probably find the answer. If you do, you'll figure it out quite quickly, but nobody here is actually confused, and anyone who is, I would have to question the point that they're making. Like, what are you even saying if you don't know how to prove it? And that's the thing with the genocide against Palestine, and why people even disagree with the war with Iran, even though Iran is, by the way, conservative, and they would actually kill you at any chance for being LGBTQ+. But what we're rallying against isn't Iran, even though we would in another situation. But we're rallying against the unjustified war of the US versus Iran, who themselves, by the way, are just as bad. And that's saying something. So to say again that we're confused is fucking straw man. It's not making any points. It's not making anything useful. It's not even suggesting a solution. Like, Jesus Christ, like, accusation, confession, like, is very much what's going on here. And that's the stupidity of it all. You know, they seem to think that it's all linked somehow, something is linked, even though they can't objectively prove that. We are not confused, we are just trying to do the right thing wherever possible, and Palestine is also pretty defenceless. And then you have the question as well with the inconsistencies in the arguments, which is how we know Israel are lying. But they say that Hamas has kidnapped people, and they've genocided in pretty much an entire population to supposedly rescue these kidnapped people, even then ignoring the fact that these kidnapped people could have been killed in their own genocide. So what then? What even was the point? It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm like confused from that perspective. Like, what is even the point here? It's pretty fucking stupid. So you're gonna have to question this shit. It just makes no sense to me. It feels like a dangerous narrative to spread anyway, when, again, lies are the information that's provided, and the lies are actually gonna kill us eventually, because Israel will get too greedy, as they are already, committing a war with Iran and Lebanon, and supposedly Turkey in the future, it reveals the huge issues, regardless of whether you agree with the religion. Like Muslims or Islam, or even whatever else they preach, even the extremist types, you still have to admit the wars are fucking unjustifiable. It's just simply pointless. And in an ideal world, we would be having discussions around these things. We would have ambassadors and presidents even just talking to these countries to say, hey, we see you've got this problem with LGBTQ plus laws. We want to reach an agreement with this because LGBTQ plus is a fundamental fact of life, and it is, by the way. And we want these people to have protections in all your countries. So that has to happen, I think. It's the only way things can be peaceful. But yeah, it's such a dumb accusation to say, like, oh, you're confused. That's not the case. Again, I have to repeat that. The confused people are the far right. That much is obvious. So, every accusation, once again, is a confession. Shut the fuck up. Do your research. Ask questions. That's it. You'll have the right answers then. You'll understand why. Instead of being an idiot about it and pretending to know the answer. Or just pretending not to know, because that's another possibility as well. So, yeah. Don't really have anything else to add here, so I shall move on in a second. Hang on. Just want to read on this shit. Game. Playing and gaming. Yeah, let's move on. So, I might have just discovered the issue with my Ormsby guitar. And this one is so stupid that I can't even believe it's real. Because it's such an obvious thing as well when you actually look at it. When you look at the mechanism that it's supposed to be. So I tried diagnosing this ages ago when I was originally recording music, and I couldn't find anything. Like, I tried swapping the tones multiple times and it just wouldn't swap. So no idea what happened there. Then in a bizarre turn of events, I literally just opened it up recently, finding 2 broken plastic bits and then a black bit that came off. And actually the black bit could have been, think about it, the bit that it needed. Don't know if it's still in there, so I've taken it off. Yeah, I think I've lost it now, but it won't even make a difference. Basically what I noticed was there's a part on the switch which is supposed to make a contact with the actual bit itself, like the metal bit. And you know, it's got this weird sort of mechanism for this. And you look at other 3-way switches, like mine's not supposed to go back like that. They could hear it clicking like twice, just about. But you know, there's no fucking contact, and that's part of the issue here, it seems. And all the solders are fine. Every single solder is just fine. I would say one of them's a bit loosely on, but that shouldn't be a big problem. I can't tell if the solders are the problem anyway, because it's all sort of jumbled up. I've sort of tried to take the solders out a bit to see, and it doesn't seem to be the case. But then I looked at the switch again and I thought, hang on, let me look at one that's online to see if I've actually got it right. And I had a look and I can see it now. I've got it at an angle. And when I was like swapping it, when I'm changing the switch, it seems to have no underneath bit. Like, it's flopping back and it only makes contact with one bit of the switch. So the part that it's supposed to be making contact with is not working. And it's gone. It's because it's gone. I can't believe it. It's just because of a contact issue. Not the bloody, whatever you call it, the soldering. Which is a a common issue in guitars anyway. Soldering does become an issue if it's half-arsed, and I know Ormsby doesn't half-arse their guitars. The soldering in that is not terrible. I think some of it could have been done better, but it's just me. I'm not even a guitar expert, or even a luthier. But yeah, the contact seems to be the fucking problem. I've never heard of this, and I can't see online anything about this. I'm looking it up constantly, and I can't seem to find any indication of someone having this issue. What's this, a grounding issue? Is that what it is? No, I don't think that's it, because grounding is when you solder it, isn't it? But no, it's 100% something to do with the contact, because the switch is supposed to be touching the other bit in the, whatever you call it, the other switches. I'll look up a three-way switch again. I've seen the exact one that's in this. Three-way switch guitar, make sure I get it right. And yeah, it's literally covered by another mechanism, which mine was not. Which is very bizarre. Like, all of them are covered by a mechanism. So yeah, it's very strange. Even this exact one, I think this is the exact one. There's supposed to be a thing surrounding it. What the hell? It's so bizarre. So yeah, it's supposed to be making contact, but it's not. And even looking at the thing on this, it looks like it's supposed to make contact with the guitar itself. That seems to be the issue. And again, it's covered in this one, but my guitar didn't come with this cover. Even then, it sort of looks like a tone knob from the looks of it. So it's a bit weird. I don't exactly know what's going on there. It does explain why my guitar had sort of a weak output and stuff. It's very strange. I've never encountered this before. Judging by the picture, again, it looks like the exact one I have. Just so the screwy bit doesn't appear to be anywhere. Because for some reason it seems inverted. But again, I'm noticing there's no contact. And I don't know if it's a case of like maybe... I don't know, if I pull it, will something happen? Hang on. Just bear with me. No, pulling it, nothing happens. Pushing it, nothing happens. Like that. So, yeah. Contact is the issue. Annoyingly, I can't even adjust the mechanism because it's like screwed in there tight. I don't know how you remove this fucking thing. It's got a bit that you can sort of grip onto, but you can't grip onto it because it's too small and it's too tight. So I'm kind of screwed in this. Even if there was a way to fix it at home, I need to be careful. I'd also scratch the paint or rather the finish by trying to unscrew this crap. And I don't even know how to get it off. Yeah, what about if I use a capo? Well, I don't know. Capo's kind of soft, but I don't know. Let's try. No, that doesn't sound good. Really don't know. I don't know which way it goes either. That's the other issue. I really can't tell which way it comes out. I don't think it's even working anyway. Yeah. But it's good to know what the issue is. Everything else works fine and looks fine. But that just seems to be the big problem now. But I can never tell if it's like clockwise or anti-clockwise to unscrew something. I'm guessing it's anti-clockwise. Yeah. Seems to be the issue. The only thing I can unscrew is the actual thing itself, the knobby bit, but it doesn't do anything. And it just takes it off, and I can't even screw it down further. So there's no situation of like getting it to make contact either, like forcing it. But yeah, what an annoying issue. I'm frankly not sure what I'm going to do. I'm going to seek out some advice, maybe, some help. It's very bizarre. I've never seen anything like this before. And with no soldering experience, I don't even know what to do, how to fucking unscrew this thing. But also, you need to be careful of the diameter and stuff, so if you do put something new in, which I don't really want to do because it requires a whole soldering process, then you've got to put another thing in and make sure it's measured. And then solder it again. Like, it's just needlessly complicated. And they could have done like Lego connectors or something, but they didn't for some reason in guitars. I don't know why. I always found that a bit strange. Yeah, it could have made it more accessible when he's designing guitars, but nobody's bothered, it seems. And it's weird because it should. Yeah, so anyway, that's about it. Let's move on. And another one. There's 3 even I have to do. I don't even start with this one. Persona 4. I'm watching a playthrough of this by, I've forgotten the name already, Crystal or something. Some sort of name like that. And yeah, it's very interesting, but the point is, as I try to make the point, I really like the soundtrack for this, and I'm surprised that it's less popular than Persona 5, because I think this is better. It's just got more of an upbeat sort of feel to it, and it's just very, I don't know, like the 2000s, I'd say, for lack of a description for it. But it feels very cool. You know, you hear specialists quite early on into the gameplay. You hear the heartbeat, heartbreak, whatever that size. I was there one of the other ones for like the battle music, I think, where it's got like 4 vocals. I think it's like boss music, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's good. Honestly, it's a really good track. It's a good soundtrack. But I think it's like seriously underrated, and it goes to show that I think sometimes the most popular things just aren't cutting it usually. Even though the Persona 5 soundtrack is good, by no stretch of the imagination anyway, it's still pretty overplayed, and I think compared to this, I think Persona 4 deserved more attention for soundtracks and background music more than anything else, I think. And even with some of the other like weirder tracks, like the one where it's like ominous or scary, play that piano track. I can't even remember how it goes now for some reason. It's like so simple, and I just love the soundtrack for it. And I remember liking a lot of the tracks for it anyway. A lot of the remixes were good. Obviously, there's a famous one with a specialist, which I'm pretty sure everyone knows. But that was actually a dancing remix, if I'm not mistaken. But if like all the other tracks are basically part of the game, I think. And then even then, I still liked a lot of the cover tracks. It's still very interesting and unique. And yeah, I just love it for that reason. So anyway, let's move on. Listen, I think non-economy community. I was thinking about this earlier, because I was just wondering about the state of the world at this moment. And one of the best things to sort of experiment with is probably a non-economy community. As in, it's not a community that's hindered by the state of the economy. As in, everything that goes on there, it goes on through very controlled means, but by community efforts rather than a sort of economical effort. So it basically means that you'd have to grow your own food, you'd have to treat each other like doctors and stuff, you need to build buildings and stuff, and even create like some certainly like unique sort of, I don't know what to call it actually, you know, like unique forms of entertainment and whatnot. I think that'd be very, very good, if I'm not mistaken. So I think there's a bug there, that Petri Breath came without a cone. I see benefits to a community like that. It's like genuinely, I think it has potential. But I think it's something we need to trial, because I know something like phones and stuff will be a different story. But in a way, I think that should just be banned. Like the internet as well should be banned from there. And I think that'll just be a good like experiment to sort of determine like what it is that really goes wrong in society. And I think phones and devices are probably part of that. Same with the internet. And you could easily determine why it's probably a problem. But we still have like telephones and stuff maybe, and you know, it kind of allows for like contact and help bring back landlines, bring back the Nokia phones. That'd be perfect for that. Yeah. I was just wondering if it's even possible. I know there's like somewhere in India, I believe it is. I saw also there it used to be a good channel, but it wasn't. It was recently, I don't know. Basically kept buying shitty products, and I was just like, God, what are you doing? That's just pissing me off now. That feels like rage bait, so I just stopped watching. But yeah, they actually visited an interesting place in India, I believe it was India, where the entire community basically lived off the land. Like everything they did, entertainment and everything, like food related, was off the land. It wasn't off of like an economic situation. It was just all there. And it is so fascinating to me that people can live that way with that knowledge and experience. And yeah, I think even though they had their phones and stuff, which obviously is counters to the point in a way, it's still good to see. It's still an evolution. I think we could trial even ones like that. But I think it is a situation for specific people, so we get experts in like you know, computering and stuff, and they can build technology that we initially didn't have. Yeah, it'd be like a breakthrough, and if it's like a size of a town or even just a city would be really incomprehensible though. A town possible. But we'd see how well it goes, and I'd just be interested to see if they even exist or if it could become a thing. No doubt there'd be a lot of participants in that, because a lot of the shit we see nowadays is just shit. Although I think the only rule is like no children who are obviously alive at the moment, so that means it has to be young adults, and if they want to make children, they go ahead and do that. But it'd be a great experiment too, like a social experiment, not just, you know, like an evil scientist experiment, which I definitely don't see it as, but people will say it is. But it'd be a good experiment to see, again, testing these social norms and whatnot. So yeah, let's move on. And finally, toxic happiness. I got pissed off by this. I was watching Limmy a bit this morning, and for some reason he brought up this topic about how people don't smile back when you smile at them. I get so pissed off about things like this, even like manners and stuff. I'm not going to hold it against someone for not using manners, because it's just such a childish thing to do. It is to me anyway. But there's just no reason to get fucking angry at it. You don't know what someone has gone through, and that's the immediate question that I have when people don't respond to things like that. They hold open the door and they don't thank me. I'm not going to be mad. You know, just because you're brought up a different way, you see that differently, doesn't mean it wasn't for nothing. If anything, that person could have been having a bad fucking day. It might not even be a mannerism issue, which, yeah, can be an issue, I will admit. But we can't assume everything about someone just based off one interaction. Which is why, again, I feel that this is so immature and really far-fetched. Really overblown as well. That's why I'm sort of angry at Limmy for this. It's such a dumb thing, and someone in the chat said, like, what if their pet passed away, and that's obviously a good point. But it feels like it's an older generation thing, somehow Limmy is part of it. Even then, I didn't really grow up in a generation where we should get angry about that sort of shit. Even though we had a generation of just bullshit. The parts where we got angry is just like, what's the point? A lot of the time, nobody really cared about this, so it's never an issue. But suddenly it becomes an issue to people because, what? There isn't a reason. But yeah, that's mainly why I see this as a problem, seeing this perspective as a problem. We do lack positivity nowadays, but you have to understand why we lack it as an older person. Because you clearly do not understand something that we do, that we all are used to, which is there is a fucking horrible world out there. People who smile at us can be viewed as creepy. Let's not forget that. You know, if I saw someone smile at their kids, I'd be a bit like, not sure about that. Even though it could be just completely innocent, but still a warning, because to people that will seem off-putting. Yeah, before we used to be able to smile at children for being cute or interesting or funny. These days you'd be treated as a threat. And that's why things change, sometimes for better and worse. In this situation it's more of a grey area. Yeah, if you're like smiling at children, that's a different thing. I hardly ever smile at children. Like, I'm born in 97, and you know, when I see children, it's like some of them I just shake my head at. It's like, what the hell are you doing playing loud music? But there are others who are just like, yeah, you know what, you're fine. I won't smile, but you know, you're good to go. But I don't want them necessarily trusting adults. I think it's also a good thing to do. So people smiling at children offers a welcoming sort of experience and potentially even exploits the vulnerable ones. So again, it's a good sort of thing that we don't actually smile at children. It sounds weird, but it is literally for their own good. I think we need to understand that. I think we have places to be happy where we can be happy. There's certainly a situation where it just doesn't feel necessary. Also, children deserve to be happy. That goes without saying. The world is a shittier place because people are ill and people are getting more miserable. No doubt because of cost of living as well. But to be honest, I don't even feel like being polite to some people. You know, I definitely do say things like when I order a meal, I'll say like, can I have the whatever it is? Trying to think of something now. Gel freezy vegetable and the garlic rice, please. And that's it. You know, that's as far as my mannerisms go. I'm not gonna like strike a conversation. I'm not gonna do stuff. I will say like thank you and stuff. Obviously, I'm brought up that way, but I won't complain if somebody doesn't treat me that way. Treat people as I want to be treated, and you should do the same. Show up or put up. That's my motto essentially. Otherwise, you're not going to change anything. And hell, it's not even a conversation for, you know, your mind or even your viewers. In the case of Limmy here, it's a conversation for those people, which you could have fucking asked instead of be like a complete nonce about it, which sadly you are. You could have instead said, well, why aren't you smiling? Are you okay? Like, show concern. That's what people want as well. When you're not showing concern, you're potentially killing another person because that's how they feel. Many suicidal people who just can't even crack a smile. Some fake it, and some have to by like, necessity. Necessity, that's a word. Like I do. That's something I do as well. But some can't, for sure. And that's also a sign. Even then, you can also catch off people who are just complete arseholes and shouldn't be part of society. And then obviously give police a tip and stuff about this person. So why don't you just engage in a fucking conversation? If you're so mad about it, talk about it with them, not us, the person you take an issue with. The same way that someone doesn't say like, oh, thanks on the road when they let you by. Again, it's such a trivial fucking issue. You don't need to get mad about this. You need to start instead considering who that person is, what they're doing, and even ask them if that's an opportunity you have. So yeah, so basically corrupt. I don't know what else to add. Again, this is a topic that really annoyed me when it first came up, and it will annoy me for a while now because it's in my head. Just can't believe people act this way. It feels very childish, You know, pretty sure I graduated from childhood at the age of 18, probably even 16. But some people, they just don't. And that's a shame, really. Moving off, I'm talking about the thing that I'm kind of talking against in a way. Sort of that generational sort of thing, and where people just seem to be callous. And, you know, I happily talk about that with people, and I have before, but it's sort of been ignored. I also see that comment as well sometimes from elderly people about how like kids being on the phone and stuff is like a terrible thing, even though they're on it for a fucking reason. Same with headphones. The same reason they have headphones. It's because of mental health issues or comfort. And you can't assume something about everybody. You can't assume the same things. Because it's going to be different for each person. Again, every situation is different. An autistic person will be wearing headphones. An autistic person may also be sort of stuck in their phone. And someone who's depressed will be stuck in their phone. Someone who's addicted to social media, which they need help with, by the way, will be stuck in their phone. You can't assume a single thing. It's dangerous. You are on the same path as a murderer, I think, if you are assuming things about people like this. Because that's essentially what you're doing. You're telling someone to close themselves off further because they do something you dislike personally. Why not just shut the fuck up? Problem solved. It's none of your business. Who cares? I heard weird stories in college about people with their phones, and I'm not necessarily on this level, but you know, creepy stuff like apparently child porn. Yeah, it's fucking weird. College was a strange place at times, for sure. I'd say that my class was actually fine. Weirdly enough, we had the least weird people in there. Even the little jock guys weren't even that weird. They were a bit sort of like picky about things. I think they did bully one of the autistic girls in my class. I say girls, but there's only one. Which is kind of sad. I do wish I'd talked to her more. But she was keeping to herself and stuff. Just fine. I never had an issue with that. Did sort of get talking to her before as well, and she was nice. Yeah, it's a strange world. To nobody's surprise anyway. It's even stranger. DJT is still alive. Did see a video recommendation saying that he's dying. Probably the best news I could ever see. Anyway, let's move on. This is surprising. It's sort of a funny, well, rather interesting anecdote. So, around a year ago, maybe more, I saw a fox in my garden, and it was with someone else. I was there with someone else, and we noticed it. I watched as well, that they noticed us and then ran away. It's kind of sad, but okay. But then, like, saw and heard nothing for the entire summer and winter. Nobody noticed. And then, recently, as I've been starting to put out water, the foxes have returned? Question mark? I say foxes because there was a little surprise. I saw one in the garden the other day, and someone is drinking the water I put out, which is good. I don't know if it's a fox or a cat, who knows. But either way, it's getting use, which is good. And I do wash it out and clean it. I use a tissue paper to clean it, because no point in using a sponge. I also use a glove because I don't want to fucking risk anything. Yeah, I don't want no tapeworm, is it? I can't remember the one that gets in your bowels or anything. But yeah, it's also been not feeding them, obviously giving them a drink. Obviously during the summer it's very important. And you know, a day ago I saw something on the doorbell camera, which is very interesting. Saw a single fox. So obviously someone's out there, which is very adorable. And finally seeing a fox. And then last night, 3 of them. But what? Where did they come from? And I saw one actually like a week or 2 ago jumping over the fence. It's quite a tall fence. It's like 3 feet, I think. It's tall for a fox anyway. Yeah, I was just surprised by that. It caught me off guard. You know, for the longest time I thought maybe the foxes weren't here anymore. It's just sad, or the fox or whatever. But no, there's definitely some lurking around, it seems. It's very interesting though. You know, 3 of them. It's just kind of crazy. They also look pretty young as well, so I'm assuming they're like a offspring. So not cubs, I can tell that, because they're quite a size at the moment. But I also think that means they're getting fed in a way. I don't know for sure. Anyway, it's like such good news anyway. It's interesting, and I do sort of want to set up a trail cam. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, my throat's going weird. Not sure how cheap they are, or if they are cheap. Having said that, but, you know, it'd be very interesting to see. Yeah, because I love foxes, and I just love hearing them out in nature. And I did hear like only a few days ago, I think, in the outdoors. I did hear one. I heard like a few actually. I think still doing their usual sounds, like dying. It sounds like that anyway. So they definitely exist, and I have heard them out here, I think, before. It's just been very interesting. But again, they're really beautiful creatures. That's a sign of, I think, a healthy ecosystem, I guess, to see more animals. Although we lack birds here, I noticed. But I think seeing animals like that is quite good and somewhat rewarding as well. Because I imagine if I ever do move to a flat, this is like if, because it's not really guaranteed at the moment, even the ones I do find, if I do find any. You know, I'll get to miss out on that, which kind of sucks. I'd only hear them maybe in the distance, but that's it, I think. Wildlife is to a minimum unless I have a balcony where birds can have a shit and lay their eggs in there. Personally, I wouldn't mind that. Don't think, anyway. It's a safe spot for them. Yeah, it'd be a great place for a bird feeder as well, and even a trail cam. Again, I think we do have that obligation to look after nature, because obviously we have built on it, and admittedly I wouldn't like certain animals living in my place, but you kind of have to do your part in like accommodating them, because essentially they are your guests, and you know, you don't tell a guest to fuck off because they're what, fox or bird or something. Pretty sure we have deer in the UK. I don't know for certain. I did try to look it up before, I think. And we have different wildlife badgers, I know, but they're quite rare. I've never seen a badger in real life, I don't think. Not even a dead one, which is unusual, unless maybe it's like misreported to me. Yeah, otherwise it's just good to see wildlife, and that's again a good thing. But people really should be accommodating to wildlife themselves. I think if you can feed them somehow, like get their food out there and then take it back in, obviously chuck it away after, assuming they haven't taken it and stuff. Yeah, there's a point to that really, and you should obviously spread out your feeding times as well, I have to mention. Because I think the worst thing you can do in that situation is kind of get into the habit, because I've read this up, I looked up what foxes can eat that isn't meat, because I wouldn't feed meat, I wouldn't be able to. It's a bit gross, and I don't really want to support the industry. But you can feed them like peanuts and fruit, but you apparently can attract rats through that, which is not good, because also you don't want hantavirus or anything. But it's not good to attract rats, even though I don't mind rats. It's just you don't want them in the house, you don't want them becoming literal pests, which does happen sadly. Well, I think that I somehow remember saying when I was young, I don't know if we did have rats at some point, I can't remember. I had mice, which is a different thing obviously. But the mice with snakes, sadly, which is gross as fuck, evil as well. Yeah, anyway, just wanted to update people on this. Interesting to see foxes. It's great. Anyway, let's move on. Finally just broke the silence in my sort of my chat thing in Twitch. So finally commented in the chat about a topic that came up about dairy cows, and for some reason everyone is just brainwashed into thinking that they need to be milked. And the other guy, I can't remember his name, he's got Dribble in the game for some reason, said that it's obviously bad for dairy cows because it's obviously forcibly impregnating them constantly, and there's a ton of propaganda. And at least the guy's a vegetarian, I have to say. It's kind of a relief in that sense. But I made a comment because I saw someone putting dairy industry propaganda in there, and then I said in the chat, I used to argue against vegans, which yes, I did technically, in my own mind and in chats as well. Even just actively as a vegan, I used to argue against vegans, and the ethics perspective is pretty irrefutable. And it made me very depressed to reflect on the past, when I used to sort of deny it and even just drop it in favour of trivial pleasure, which is true because I did actually drop it for trying to impress my girlfriend. It wasn't like a masculine is manly sort of thing. You know, it's just a thing really. I was trying to be more attractive, and that was one of the ways I tried to, which was stupid of me because it didn't actually change anything. But the other thing really is when I gave it up, I just went straight back to meat, and then I hated the meat. It just makes me wonder, like, even when I have animal products, I had animal products back then, I still didn't like it because it made me sick as well. It just wasn't designed for me, it seems, and that perspective helped me drop animal products again. And it's just so bizarre, but I'm happy that the response wasn't highly negative. But I did see someone in the chat say that, like, they always take the morally superior position, which is just, what? Like, yeah, and the problem is, like, the thing is, people are not trying to be, like, moral in this sense, and we're not even asking people to do the most. There's actually problems within the movement itself, within veganism, where you do commit atrocities just by, you know, the virtue of trivial pleasure, which in itself is another issue. I've even tried to make steps to be a better person in that sense. You know, it's like avoiding vegan products from Nestle, for example, is a big thing that you could try to do. Avoiding products from, like, chocolate savoury, essentially, is another good thing. But, you know, these are the steps that you take when you get deeply into the ethics, and even sourcing your stuff from very ethical sort of sources, like if something is not slave made in China, like a t-shirt, or if there is like a better alternative for a tech product, like maybe what's the company called again? Sometimes I can't remember the name. But there's like the smartphone company of ultra repairability, and, you know, being like that, those are the small steps that you take with that, and that's the important aspect of it. I think that really helps with that stuff. Like, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to put this. You don't have to be the best person. It is an option entirely, and I take it as an option myself, because even though Nestle are terrible and Unilever, I'm trying to avoid as well, are terrible, you don't necessarily need to cut out everything. I think it's just unnecessary to go to that extreme, especially if you're new, where it's a bit more complicated to wrap your head around that. Obviously, I'm not saying people are dumb, it's just you have to understand that there are other changes that can be made, if you like it or not. Like, there are good things obviously that come of not supporting a product, like cutting supply and demand, which is why they exist. Yeah, it is kind of a ridiculous thing. Yeah, it's very interesting, this conversation, but at the same time it's quite depressing, because, you know, as I said, I've argued against it a lot, and I've even tried to be to still man the other side's arguments, and I've barely been able to. I say barely because there has been good arguments, but I have said a lot of the time there is not. It's fucking nuts. So it just gets crazy out of hand with the sort of content you get with these debates and the subjects that come up. So it's a very rough situation. And we'll see about silence for this reason, really, but it's also just spiraled into a debate about what was it? Something I'm forgetting. I've only just watched it a minute ago. It's like a debate about figs and stuff, and yeah. You know, it's a harsh reality, and it was a reality check when I was confronted with like vegans on a debate about this and stuff, and questioning it. I remember, I think I made a post on Such Vegan initially, saying that I want to go vegan, and I had these questions, and then people were just saying that just go vegan instantly. There's no excuse anymore. And I watched the debates and stuff, and this is also where it ties into that, about the debates, and that I realise that I can't argue against anything. I see a carnivore or omnivore bringing up how they have this like really good argument against this, and somehow it always gets refuted, and it took me a while to realise how. There's like the perspective of ethics where you use empathy, obviously, but you also start to, you understand the elements of why that's a thing, why you empathise with an animal instead of just this other way. And then you look at another perspective which really puts every other argument on its head against veganism. But that argument is that you don't actually need to use animals for this trivial pleasure you have. There's an alternative for everything. You want to treat yourself to a burger? Get the vegan option. Because they taste the same. And fucking hell, I've been served a meat burger before, I believe, and wasn't really aware of it. But it tastes the same. Honestly, I couldn't tell the difference. I thought they tasted exactly the same. It depends on where you get it. If it's char grilled, it's better, but it's not always optimal because sometimes it's cooked with the meat stuff. Even then, this is what I mean with the ethical choices. You're not paying for the sort of the meat aspect of it, or even the char grilled meat stuff. Like char grilled. I forgot what it's called now. What do you call it? I'm trying to think of the grill. Yeah, just a grill, isn't it? It's just a fucking grill. But you're not paying for that, and it doesn't really matter then, does it? So again, people can make those compromises. You could be plant-based instead, and that's still just as good. And plant-based is the correct term here because you do follow that narrative. You do follow one where you prioritise avoiding animal products, but you won't ignore them when an opportunity to come up, like say someone donates something. Okay, feel free to have that. I'll probably go for someone else personally, but you can have it. There's nothing wrong with that. And then the other issue, the other thing rather, what was it? Yeah, when it's like cooked with animal products or cross-contamination, it's generally fine, as long as it's not like a primary ingredient or, just even like a side ingredient, like a lot of it is anyway. Because it is just an extra ingredient, but you're not paying for that pleasure. Like, sure, you may be paying for it to be cooked on the same grill, like Burger King does supposedly. But it's still one of those things. I prefer if people stick to a plant-based diet, do things that way, and don't eliminate some of these extra things. Because over time it will eventually, disappear. And you won't have the cross-contamination issues when supply and demand meets the plant-based products. So eventually it just gets better and better over time, and it's easier as well. Eventually it becomes mainstream. You start to see it stocked in stores and stuff, and all the products you had before have an alternative. If you miss shrimp, you can find vegan shrimp. If you miss lobster, you can find vegan lobster. In a bizarre case, there's actually vegan tentacles, which I've seen in the UK, they exist. Again, there's alternatives for everything. You don't have to miss these things. They will exist over time. People will get bored of the same products, and we already are getting bored of burgers, to be fair. Merely falafel burgers and veggie burgers can be unique. I have tried some really unique burgers. But again, over time it changes. And it also explores more creativity, because with a beef burger you don't get any flavouring. I don't even remember a beef burger that had any sort of gimmick to it, like being filled with cheese, which there is a vegan version of. Not sure if they still do it, but they used to. It was a Iceland exclusive, I think, for the plant menu. And I think there was somewhere else, Tesco. Tesco actually did one, Plant Chef. But they do those gimmicks every now and then. But even crazier is that they'll do it with vegetable burgers, and that's far more healthier for you and even tastier, I've found. Just a crazier thing. Bean burgers are absolutely goated. You can never go wrong with a bean burger. It just tastes so good, and beans are rather kind of a superfood. So again, I have to make the case that it's not really any excuse about switching to plant-based, and that's the argument where I also failed from an ethical perspective. I realised I literally couldn't argue against this shit. I couldn't say like, oh, well, you know what, I can't switch because of liking animal products too much. I tried a bunch of the vegan stuff before I went vegan, and I loved it. Even the cheeses, which I generally wasn't a fan of, they were far better. I've accidentally had mozzarella, and I tried a vegan mozzarella, and vegan mozzarella is so much tastier. I don't care that it's not stringy, it just tastes so much better. There's more flavour on that, and the mozzarella was actually disgusting. It felt horrible, it tasted horrible as well. I don't understand what qualities people see in that. And another thing is milk and cheese specifically, I think has a product called casein in it, which is almost the same as, what's that artificial stuff? I can't remember the name now. Not GMO, that's something else, genetically modified. There's like a thing they kept putting in like Chinese food in restaurants that was like really addictive, made it salty and then made it addictive. But it's similar to that, it's called casein. And yeah, it gets people hooked. It is essentially almost an addiction. So yeah, I really do think that this discussion could be better had with other vegans, and obviously I'm open to having discussions with people, not necessarily in voice chats, but text chats, sure, I can do that for certain. It's just harder to articulate my thoughts when under social pressure. It's always been a problem since childhood. That's why they used to think I was special needs, I think, other than learning difficulties and just sucking at various things. But yeah, I almost got sent to a special needs school. I don't really have anything else to add here. I just felt this was interesting, and it's quite nerve-wracking to be acknowledged also as a first-time chatter, and the only reason I'm a first-time chatter is because I made this account like 3 or 4 years ago, and I've only been watching this channel for about a year or two now, probably a year actually. And the other reason is I'm just not big on chatting. But I saw some dairy industry propaganda in there. There's some idiot saying, oh, the cows walk on this line willingly. No, they fucking don't. A lot of the time they have to be prodded. It's not just from like select footage, it's literally observable. And even then, they go there because they know they'll get hurt. It's like ingrained into them. It's like how you treat an animal. It's like how a dog gets scared when they see something they're familiar with. And cows are basically described as big dogs anyway. So it's easy to imagine that. I find a lot of the propaganda and the whitewashing here very stupid, and they did bring up propaganda as well, but not on the vegan side. It's just the animal products, and they mentioned like goat milk and stuff, making you manly apparently, even though villains have milk all the time. yeah, that's an interesting thing. Anyway, I ain't got anything else to add. I just felt like mentioning this. I got mentioned in a Twitch stream. Not sure if I should mention them if I haven't. It's hard to say. It's a bit embarrassing as well being acknowledged because I'm just like, I don't know. I'm always nervous when I get a reference and stuff. I'm always nervous when I follow someone because I always try to do a follow at the end of a stream or either when I'm like going AFK, so I don't have to acknowledge it. But it's a bit weird. I have some weird habits now because of anxiety and stuff just increasing. Yeah, anyway, let's move on. Well, the Spider-Man outbreak situation is crazy. Swinging webs and shit. But let's move on to the next topic. Perhaps a stupid thing to point out, but important, I think. Because I find this troubling, and it shows one of the bigger issues here. As in, what this war is doing and why it's just so stupid and immoral. Because I was wondering, have Iran actually killed any US citizens yet? It's a weird question, but it needs to be asked. Because when it comes to the war, they should only be targeting the people who are the most dangerous to them, like a threat level dangerous. And in the UK, for example, if you were to target the UK, you'd be doing nothing. You know, killing someone is just doing nothing for you. Because they're not even a threat level. None of us are. We don't know how to use a gun. Don't even know how to use a knife. A lot of people don't. And I'm thinking, because obviously there hasn't really been any exact casualties in terms of citizens being attacked other than Israel. The US is harder to see, but I can't even find reports of citizens being attacked. Or, well, civilians, or whatever the wording we use is here. And I think that's a really good distinction between who's right and wrong in this war as well. Because if they're attacking innocent civilians, then there's obviously a big fucking issue. It's horrific. There are so many bad things going on here as a result. Yeah, maybe this actually. I don't know, the United States is listed as something, but it's service members, not even civilians yet. And Israel, let's see. It just says soldiers killed, many wounded, army. Soldiers killed, vets killed, but no civilian, I don't think. So there doesn't seem to be any civilian casualties or anything reported, what I could see. It's just weird because I'm pretty sure there are. It says civilians. Civilian casualties numbered 1,701, including at least 254 children, while 714 were classified as of 7th of April. And how many of them are from what? We should highlight the countries in this. Yeah, it's not an excessive number of casualties, I don't think. But it is bad, still. Because this is like a war crime, literally. The school attack was one of the most notable war crimes that the US has done. And that's even in just recent years, which is extremely frustrating. Let's see, civilians. Civilian. What the hell is it showing up? I'm spelling it wrong, okay. Makes sense. So 3,633 deaths in Iran due to strikes, including 1,701 civilians. Again, that's bad. We should be fucking targeting civilians. That's just terrible. It's really dumb, and obviously it's going to report the amount of children in that too, which is even more dystopian. And then who else has been attacked here? Let's see. Israel, 1 civilian, 29 other civilians were wounded. 89 injured and... Okay, even one... Well, I'm confused by this reporting here. 2 civilians killed in Israel. Yeah, again, it's just awful. And then Lebanon, for comparison, 31 people at least have been killed, and apparently 4,000 more as well. 12,000 injured, 10,000 plus. 52 deaths, 1,154. No, 154 injuries. US. 5 civilians have been injured and 1 killed early on, July. That's soldiers, that's not even civilian. So yeah, that's still just fucking bad, and apparently the US has used civilians as human shields. The fuck? Again, this is just depravity. They're so fucking corrupt. This shit is just absurd. And it just shows that it's just so morally corrupt. It's all just such a pointless war. And it's all always pointless anyway. You know, you look at what Ukraine have done to Russia, and their civilian casualties are like an all-time low. Because Ukraine doesn't target civilians, they're targeting Russia. Like, not as a whole, but the specific infrastructure which keeps them stable. And obviously people hate it because this war was unjustified. People were realising the bullshit, and on top of the censorship, they're realising how much more bullshit it was. They're trying to cover up things that are obviously apparent there, with drone strikes against fuel facilities, and then, what then? Again, getting into ridiculous levels of bullshit here. Because there's no excuse. If you're going to wage a war, don't target innocent fucking people. It's just incredibly stupid. It's incredibly dumb. They don't do anything. In fact, it's more of a benefit for the victor, because if there's an agreement where you take over a country, you get more fucking people. Like, what? It just makes no sense. I know I'm ignoring things like possible assassinations and coups and stuff, but who cares? People only care if they're going to be safe, and whatever comes next, a lot of people will comply, like, happily, because there's no other choice. That's just the harsh reality of it. You never target fucking civilians. And then if your country is so corrupt that they're going to draft you in just for being young, then you need to overthrow that fucking government immediately. Deny orders. Start staging coups and stuff, and that's why you do see it in Russian militaries at the moment. That's why there are so many people that are not qualified for the job, because they don't know what to do. They've lost all their best people, and the best weapons as well, for that matter. So they don't even have a chance. So that's your warning sign that your government is just fucked. They're going to lose the war. And yet, idiots like Putin and Trump and Netanyahu, for that matter, don't even realise it. It's getting absurd. And you know, the fact that Iran is striking US military bases and succeeding as well, again, people being sacrificed for no reason here, is even more dystopian. It's just a waste of fucking money, a waste of weapons as well. Because, let's be honest, there are reasons to keep being armed and stuff. And that's to just get rid of potential threats. And not even just potential, real threats. Like the US. And my tongue didn't slip there, because the US is literally a threat. Well, they're not as big a threat as others, but still a threatening force anyway, because of what Trump is doing and what Pete Hegseth obviously is doing as well. Just so much corruption. It's frankly fucking absurd, and apparently there's even a report recently. I think Kash Patel, I believe, went to Russia to have a meeting with the fucking elites there. Like, what is going on? Again, this seems like a scheme to just have like a world reset or something. It seems so blatantly obvious, and yet people are not fucking talking about this and not acting, trying to do anything here. You know, going about your life, carrying out your fucking wages, who the fuck cares when it's your life on the line? It's my response to that. You have to go out there and act and do something. And not everyone's capable of it, sure. I know my limitations too. But something has to be done. That much is obvious, and the same goes with like the UK as well. If we're basically ignoring the fact that we've caused so much harm to Palestine, and even then just trying to side with Russia to an extent, it's just we have so much to fucking amend for, and even then there's the cost of living crisis which you need to take into account, and British people need to be given security, not just like obviously the kind where we need to be defended from our war. It's the kind where we need to be fucking safe in our own fucking homes without the threat of war, meaning there is no war. People are already dying because of shit that the British government is doing. They're not doubling down on the uprising of the far right and fascism. They're not doubling down on trying to address the cost of living crisis or anything. They're not even trying to increase wages and introduce a wealth tax, which I know people get bored of. They hear that, they get fucking antsy about it for some reason. But do the research. Apparently it is successful. I'm pretty sure in New York, Mamdani had adopted the wealth tax and has been successful as a result. And, like, the state rather, is just doing everything so well in the moment. And yet people still have the fucking call to say that wealth tax is not going to work. It's just so fucking dumb. I can't really comprehend that. Like, what would you rather? A worse off cost of living crisis, or one that just doesn't, like, stays the same rather? So, like, worse, stay the same, or hopefully get better. There's two with the second choice, because you never know. It could work out, maybe could not. It's all up to chance, I think. So yeah, don't really know what else to add, but that's about that, I think. So I do think it's important. Yeah, so let's move on. It's rare that I report on memes, or trends, but I think this one kind of warrants it, because it is just an interesting topic anyway, and it's also positive. One of the rare positive things we can have today. JIMOTHY the raccoon. So if you don't know, this is a raccoon with a condition called short spine syndrome, apparently, and it's been spotted around, I think they said Seattle area in the US, which certainly is interesting, you know. And the little guy apparently has been around for quite a while. But where it's obviously sort of wholesome is that people are just accepting him for who he is, you know. Just a raccoon with a condition which is also something that's becoming accepted. Because, you know, people's reactions to animals with specific conditions like that can be quite toxic, and I've certainly seen that myself, my lifetime at least. But even then, like specific animal traits, like I've had aggressive dogs in my lifetime, and even some that are just really heavily traumatised and stuff. It's always sad, because they can't necessarily control that, and you can't even give them like therapy or like treatment for that. It's just shit. Even physical conditions which you can't exactly reverse in those cases. You know, it sucks even more, and it makes you just really sympathetic towards them. So it's always a sad scenario, but if we can at least spin it in a positive way and protect them, obviously, I think the world will be a better place. And yeah, if this was also a dog, which apparently there was a dog according to this is a meme culture, you know, people should have the same reaction and will, probably, because dogs are more loved. But even though raccoons are probably more treated like a pest or a rodent, you know, it's kind of interesting. Yeah. I don't know what sounds, but either way, it's good that people are taking that approach. I just wish it expanded beyond, you know, the non-farm animals, and even then, humans. I wish it expanded towards humans too, because at the moment it just doesn't. Even mentally, we're not there yet. It always sucks when I encounter shit like this. Again, I've already talked about what I said about toxic happiness. People have specific issues and specific trauma and stuff, and you don't just recover from it after 10 years or 20 years or even a lifetime. It's with you forever, and so you can't constantly assume things about people the same way you can't apply that to animals, because again, animals will have different experiences. In fact, one of the saddest things, I hate mentioning this, is a sad story. One of our rescue dogs we had my first place, turns out it was abandoned, and I think we knew that, but he was also like kind of abused and stuff, and like bits like scars on his like fur which never healed, which is always shit. It's always kind of a bad thing, but again, you adopt these dogs so you can show them love and kindness. But the other thing we never noticed is we tried to tie him up before to basically, because we have like, it's a weird system actually, it's like an animal sort of thing that we have here, and to support the animals, obviously it's include like smaller animals like ducks and chickens. We have to make sure they're protected, because we don't know what necessarily the dogs are doing or are going to do, even though they're not hostile. You never know. It could just happen. And we have had one case where one of the rescue dogs was kind of like a bit dodgy. Not her fault though. But this dog tied him up, and he had a fucking panic. Like, he literally looked like he's going to have a heart attack. He was shaking so much, he literally escaped his own harness, which I'd never seen a dog do before. It's just crazy. You know, I noticed that panic right away. I was kind of hesitant at first. I was happy to hold him and stuff, but I was just told not to. But you know, this is the thing. I'm more considerate of that sort of thing. But even with me being there, he still panicked, and you know, he still ran away. It's just really sad. He didn't run away. He was in a closed area, but still, we had nowhere else to put him, at least without making him panic. So it just really sucks, to be honest. It was a really sad situation, and that's obviously more sympathy for the dog. People should have more sympathy for animals in that case, because it is such an issue. And yeah, it doesn't get mentioned enough, and so animals suffer as a result. But yeah, overall it's good that people accept those differences in animals. I just wish more people would, because at the moment a lot of people just seem to be facing or rather chasing what's trendy instead of actually going for rescue animals and stuff. Rescuing from a puppy farm, I question that sometimes as well, because I think people maybe say that just as an excuse. I could be wrong, but it's always like a cute dog for some reason, a cute dog breed, and to me it only counts if I think the puppy farm is due to like shut down. I think if puppy farms put dogs down, then that doesn't really change anything. If they're about to be put down, you're not changing a thing, sadly. It's a harsh reality of that. Yeah, it is such a problem. And that's why you can't always take things at face value like that. People lie all the time and stuff. So yeah, it's better to accept animals like that, the differences. Certainly if there was like a disabled animal in life, I'd try to make everything as accessible for them as I could. Make walkies accessible, it depends on the animal obviously, but obviously food, getting into places and stuff, getting into places that shouldn't be even. It's just like a funny joke. Like let's put a ramp to the bathtub or something stupid like that. Those would be the sort of things I'd consider, although maybe not the bathtub if I'm out of the house. But yeah, I see there's so much more kindness that could be given. And it's just not given, sadly, because of the state of the world and people being shites, and again. Anyway, I ain't got much else to add, so I shall move on. So, I already sort of documented my Eureka journey in Final Fantasy XIV, and it still seems there's issues. There was a post on subreddit talking about toxicity that someone encountered whilst on a free trial and preparing for going to Baldessian Arsenal, which, as I've documented, is a difficult raid. I was carried through it, but Baldessian Arsenal requires very specific setups, and once you've got the setups it's fine, but I will say the bigger issue is when it comes to the toxicity in the game. And there is like serious toxicity. It has such a huge issue, and I briefly remember parts of this in my own experience. Because even though I was grouping with, Eureka Academy and stuff, I did encounter the occasional toxic player in those areas and those chats, and luckily Eureka Academy themselves are quite, I guess, they hold people to account, users to account rather. So when they are toxic, there is literally proof of that. It's screenshotted and posted to a chat. I've seen it before. But not every player is like that, and sometimes they misuse the system and just absolutely fuck everything up. And it gets real bad. But this made me think as well, Eureka and Baldessian Arsenal for that matter are just so fucking outdated as a concept. Like, we're so used to the conveniences of the Juicy Finder, and even then, just like, what else would they fucking be? Like, farming things via a meta. Like, everyone does that, and it's hard to really respect someone who does it differently. But you can't really avoid it, sadly, and even when you want to, and you also want to defend someone who's not being a toxic douchebag. But maybe I've made a few mistakes. I've seen early pulls by mistake before. It makes it very difficult. It's a serious grey area. But where I argue against this is a lot of these systems in Eureka are just outdated. I think I've always held that view. The grind is just so fucking long that it just makes it pretty unbearable. And the reason for that is the fact you could spend weeks farming one weapon, a few hours of your day farming one. I was doing it non-stop, by the way, so it took me days, but it took me a few weeks to do multiple. It could get really toxic. When there's an instance reset we have to do for the Eureka tracker, which is a very useful tool, by the way, I definitely appreciate it, but it doesn't spike toxicity because these spawns are so difficult to get. Because it requires so many kills, it requires you to kill so many mobs, and then you also level capped, so you can't kill them quickly. So you have to hope it spawns in an instance you don't have a tracker for when nobody provides one. And there's also a mishandling of the trackers too sometimes, and that causes issues as well. It is a bad system. How does nobody realise this? It's baffling to me, because it is such an objectively bad system. I just see it everywhere in this game. it's not just Eureka, I saw it in, to an extent, Bosja. I saw it in Bosja as well, in those areas. It's not a perfect game by any means, and the community also has to come to accept this. It is just not up to snuff for modern standards. And as Yoshi P has acknowledged, we're all getting older and we've all got more responsibilities, so we have to make the game more, well, not in his own words, accessible, but that's what's implied. And time is a pretty valuable resource as well. I'm pretty sure Yoshi P said that too during the earlier fan festival in 2026. I think it was the April one or something. So I don't know where this fucking throat thing's coming from. Fucking hell. I'm gonna have these in a bit, so maybe why I got dry throat. Yeah. Again, I think if we're gonna make changes like that, we need to start thinking about removing things like RNG for loot systems and removing things like, well, actually, like for example, the Nier Automata raids. Literally today's one on Paradigm Tower or something, I can't remember the fucking name. It took an hour. A fucking hour to do the Tower Paradigm's breach. Like, what the fuck? This is an absurd amount of time to be spending here, and the others too take a while. This is especially egregious compared to something like Auburn Monastery there, and even Endwalker. Like, the Endwalker raids are decent, they're reasonably quick. Not as quick as, obviously, Realm Reborn, but still better, and you just pray that you get a Realm Reborn a lot of the time because it's just quicker for the roulette, and even then, yeah, just quicker for the roulette. That's it, really. So it's just pathetic, in my opinion, to keep this practice going. And the same with Bosja, I've complained about it consistently. The fact you have to regrind everything, every single moment that it happens. Also, there's a cute carbuncle here. When did you get here? Oh, cutie pie. Yeah. Go sit with the carbuncle. You know, it's so outdated, and it inspires toxicity because everyone's in a rush to do the most effective tactic possible. So MEP, wait, that means something else, but yeah. But that's why it gets toxic. The amount of times I've seen please reset instance in Eureka is absurd, and I've even asked it a few times and myself losing patience a bit because I'm just in a rush to get this done. And the thing is, you can't teach someone not to rush things because that doesn't work. You're playing a game. You don't expect to be spending hours on it for one single fucking thing. Even then, that's for specific players. It's not for the toxic and impatient. And when a game has so much variety like this, you're going to encounter that. So it is really hard to balance. But at the same time, you do still get toxic players regardless. And the point is, you have to reduce it as much as you can. It's so absurd. I don't really know the best solution to it either. But in my opinion, I think it needs modernising. Just make it like Endwalker and Dawntrail have been. Simple, easy solution. It's one that everyone can accept, one that everyone can enjoy. You've done the grind once, you don't have to do it again. And then everyone will try and do it as well, because it's now accessible. Same with a Realm Reborn. If you only have to do it once, which I'd happily do, even though it's shit still, then I would do it and pay the rest in Poetics. But they don't do that because reasons, game time maybe. I don't understand it. The thing is, this game needs to respect your time, otherwise players won't respect it. It becomes a laughing stock like World of Warcraft was, with how shit those drops were from the RNG, like the RNG gear, the terrible power systems you had to farm for. It became a joke, and I quit in Shadowlands. I still remember BFA having those stupid Like, it has the right powers and what were those annoying loafer stuff? You know, when they had tiered gear for some reason, like tier 3 tornado or something, and it just fucking decimated everything. But that's the absurdity. It's a level of absurdity that ruins a game. It ruins a fan base as well. It completely fucks it. So naturally, it just becomes more and more of an issue. Yeah, I don't know what else to add, but I do feel bad for this user who sadly got sort of harassed and even just attacked randomly in the world chat, apparently in cities, and obviously in Kagane. But it's so unnecessary as well. Like, who cares if a player's there, like, stalling your fucking wait times? It's a system where even whether or not it's a troll, there's going to be someone who doesn't understand what you're saying, understand why you're doing it, and is just trying to play along without a guide. Like I tried to initially, but I couldn't. You know, not everyone's the same, and that's why we have conflict. I'm a mount farmer, sort of, not a mount collector, but farmer, and I do things differently. I'm a casual player. I'm not the same as someone who farms Ultimate. Not the same as someone who farms every single mount in the game. So there's a difference of interest there. So when it comes to farming stuff, I'm not looking for just like an ingenious group or anything. I'm just looking for a way to get my reward and be done. And maybe I'll help if that's possible, because that's a nice thing to do. And yeah, surely history will look kindly on that, because I feel like we're going to lose a lot of those players at some point. Especially if Evercold fucks up with its execution. Yeah. Again, we kind of take these things for granted too. And you know, I've had plenty of players actually show kindness in this game. I remember farming Fates for the, what was it called? The Flying Squirrel mount. And you know, they were happy to help regardless of getting no reward. Which is insanely generous, because it could take time to farm those, especially if you're alone. But the more players, the faster it goes. You still get a reward, and it's just good. Yeah, I don't know what else there is to add. I just think that there is a lot to be done here to really make this work, to make the game work, to have it be accessible. Again, I think changing it to a poetic system is very necessary. Do the grind once, poetic system after. Simple solution. And even then, I think the players who might complain that there's not enough people to like farm and defeat the bosses, even though you can sort of solo them in a way. You know, it's tough shit. Find someone else to farm it with, sadly, because that's all you're going to get, I think. I think that's the harsh reality. If you're farming for that ring that costs, that goes for like 50 million gil on the auction house or something, that only works in Eureka. Again, that's on you, and yeah, its value will decrease, but who the fuck cares? Like, come on. People need to stop chasing like hyper unrealistic goals, and even the economy. Like, stop trying to be extremely rich in the game. Just accept that we need to see a situation where, you know, UGP will actually have a reliable economy. Like, for example, making it easier to farm mounts, and having less need to use the auction house, or keep people in the auction house as market board. But there's other things too, like stop using the market board for gearing and stuff, and restrict it to crafting, for example, even though there are benefits. But that sort of artificial pricing is what causes the issue here. It's what causes the contention, and causes players to want to farm it. Again, it's a conflict of interest. You farm it for crystals, well, I farm it for crystals, and then someone else is farming it for the fucking ring. and ask the instance to be reset every time. It's like, yeah, even though there's benefits as crystal farmers, it's not great because we're trying to farm something else, and it just sucks. And then you have to do like farming for about 10-15 minutes or something stupid and ridiculous like that. Sometimes 5 minutes or 1 minute, it depends. It's all over the place. And then you have to go to the fucking boss, either for right travel or something. Walk there, hope you don't get killed, even though it's kind of impossible at later levels and playing in the 4th and 3rd area. And then you wait 3 minutes for the pull timer, like 27 or pull time 25, even though it's kind of it's a weird system, to be honest, because it's not based on server time, but it's still, the pull timer is like that. There's, for some reason, it's on like the fate timer, that's it, because it's like it spawns an encounter, that's it, that's what I think of. And that's how they do that. But yeah, again, people break that timer, and then it just becomes a whole clusterfuck of pointing fingers and saying, like, why are you fucking pulling it? It just gets absurd, and as I tend to do sometimes, I like do one pull, I try to pull it away to reset. Doesn't always work out like that. Oh my god, I remember so many situations like that, where we're trying to get the boss to piss off, like because we accidentally pulled it whilst waiting for players. Again, outdated. By all means keep the systems as they are, even though they're shit. But stop making us farm it. It's just a simple solution here. Have a politics farm instead. Give players a reason to go to Juicy Finder where we do need more players. And also nerf a lot of the shit in Eureka anyway. Make bosses soloable, like the big final bosses and stuff. And these are the last bosses or whoever you call them. But make them not as bullshit either. I remember one that one-shot me. Maybe lose a level down to 59 from max, so even though it's not too big of a deal, it's still bad. And also that level system is shit anyway. The fact you can't kill a high level without getting full rewards as a lower level, it's just stupid. You miss out on so much stuff there. So yeah, anyway, I've ranted enough, so I shall move on, I think. Well, suppose I better make the outro. It's gone off a while. I should put on Brendan first, actually. Probably, yeah, there's. Sadly, there's been a lot of fucking talking recently. It's just hard to avoid certain topics. There's been a lot of news lately. I try not to speak on because it does delay things. I try to speak only during gameplay, for example, where I have time to obviously speak, think and stuff. So there's not really any other time, otherwise it takes time on my hobbies and that takes time away from all this more important stuff. But yeah, thanks for listening. See you everyone